This 6th generation BMW 7 Series is a technological powerhouse, good enough to transform its brand's fortunes in the full-sized luxury saloon segment. Boardroom buyers who might ordinarily default to this car's closest rival, Mercedes S-Class, are being targeted with a fresh level of sophistication, a more involving driving experience, and significantly lower running costs, courtesy of the clever carbon core bodywork. All along with the sumptuous interior and silky smooth ride they'll have a right to expect. It's a rejuvenated proposition.
If there's one thing you learn once successful in business, it's that the obvious choice isn't always the best one. An observation especially true when it comes to the acquisition of the kind of car necessary to underline your commercial success. A fully fledged boardroom-sized luxury saloon. A model like this one, the 6th generation BMW 7 Series. Think of a car of this kind and you'll probably think first of this contender's closest rival, the Mercedes S-Class, a model that's comfortably vanquished the two other most credible options in the segment, Audi's A8 and the Jaguar XJ. Traditionally, the 7 Series has struggled against the S-Class too, campaigning in its shadow for over 4 decades, a period in which this BMW's flagship design was outsold 2-to-1 by the Mercedes rival. It was an embarrassment for the Munich maker. It was time for a change. But can this car really be good enough to deliver it? Well, don't be deceived by the conservative looks. This G11 generation model, launched in the autumn of 2015, is promising us nothing less than a game-changing interpretation of what a full-size luxury saloon can be, with technology that in future will be shared not only with lesser BMWs, but also with the next generation of Rolls Royces. Through this 7, it's promised we can glimpse the future of automotive luxury. A time when cars will park themselves without a driver at the wheel, where a mere gesture will be enough to operate the switchgear, and where futuristic carbon fibre construction and plug-in hybrid technology will deliver running costs that'll make little city cars look willfully inefficient. There's more too, courtesy of an all-new platform and an adaptive, fully air-sprung chassis that moulds itself to the road and can even predict it thanks to pioneering infotainment and navigation technology good enough to show other brands exactly what a car of this kind should be, and demonstrate to customers what a 21st century luxury saloon can be, which is important at a time when boardroom buyers no longer automatically select from this segment. Their custom is, after all, these days also coveted by Range Rover-style top luxury SUVs, large four-door luxury coupes like BMW's own 6 Series Grand Coupe, and futuristic full-electric top-end models like the Tesla Model S. When a car of this kind is done well, though, there's nothing quite like the real-world Rolls Royce experience it can deliver. Is that what's on offer here? Time to find out. I don't know about you, but one of my favourite James Bond films was Tomorrow Never Dies, the one where Q gives Pierce Brosnan a BMW 7 Series that can be driven entirely by remote control. That was a fantasy back in 1997, but it's a reality today, a time in which this, the 6th generation version of BMW's flagship saloon, can be optionally programmed to park itself without a driver even being in the car. The whole process managed via this rather clever little display key. I'm not going to do that here because I'm more interested to know what it's like when you are behind the wheel. And more specifically, I want to try and answer the question that a large number of potential buyers will be asking. Namely, is it really as good as a Mercedes S-Class? BMW has, after all, never produced a 7 that is, despite the Rolls Royce inspired engineering that brought us this model's predecessor. Like previous versions, that car wavered uncertainly between the need to be the ultimate driving machine that's promised in the company's ads, at the same time as also being the ultimate luxury conveyance. Unsurprisingly, perhaps, it ended up being neither. Here, though, the signs are that things could be different. BMW has carefully studied what makes the rival S-Class so good over the bumps and sought to emulate it, at the same time as taking weight out of the body shell to create more agile responses that can be embellished by various handling-orientated options. Plus, there's four-wheel drive for those who want it. You control both aspects of the car's character via a system that in principle will be familiar to owners of lesser BMWs, the driving performance control setup, the operating buttons for which are down here by the gear stick, and via which you can tweak ride quality as well as throttle response and the change times of the standard 8-speed automatic gearbox. There are some changes though for 7 Series motoring. The comfort mode, for example, can be embellished with a super springy Comfort Plus setting. The efficiency-orientated Eco Pro mode now has configurable elements, activates a coasting function that decouples the engine at cruising speeds, and uses navigation data to give recommendations for a more frugal driving style. And in Sport mode, the ride height is automatically reduced by 10mm at higher speeds. Finally, and perhaps best of all, there's something we've been requesting for ages from BMW with this setup, a set and forget auto setting, badged here as adaptive. Most owners will leave this 7 in adaptive mode nearly all the time, just as we've done. With this activated, the vehicle setup is continually adjusted to match driving style, the road surface, and the predictive route data flowing through from the navigation system. It's all possible thanks to the far more sophisticated way that the car is sprung this time around. The air suspension system that was previously only fitted on the rear axle now is standard to be found at both ends. This self-leveling layout works seamlessly with the variable damper control you activate through those selectable driving performance control modes, and allows you to raise the car as well as automatically lower it, say if you need a higher ride height at low speeds over a particularly rough section of road. To further perfect this whole package, you need to spend a little more on BMW's optional Executive Drive Pro feature. This active chassis control system refines the brand's previous dynamic drive setup, like that package aimed at reducing rolling movement at the front and rear axles. The concept uses automatically adjustable anti-roll bars that give you lots of suspension movement for a great ride in a straight line, yet spring into action through the bends to compensate for the body roll that you would otherwise get. With the Executive Drive Pro package, these anti-roll bars activate quicker thanks to electromechanical rather than hydraulic functionality. And of course, when you match up all this to the benefits of that adaptive driving performance control setting I was talking about, with predictive navigation data that anticipates and allows for the next bump, then you have all the ingredients for a beautiful ride and handling balance. Is it as beautiful as that you get on an S-Class with Mercedes' optional Magic Ride system fitted? Well, other writers say not, but we think BMW's got very close here and managed to do so while matching the Merc for whisper-quiet cruising refinement and beating it when it comes to providing a much more involving driving experience. To further improve that, there's another options box to tick, that for the integral active steering system. Now this uses a variable steering rack ratio to turn the rear wheels in either the opposing or the same direction when steering. The result, as usual with active steering systems, gives you greater maneuverability at low speeds, so a usefully increased turning circle, and extra agility during quick driving. Agility is, in this case, a relative term, of course. This 7 Series model is 17 feet long after all, and certainly could be difficult to maneuver until you get used to it and make use of all the driving aids on offer. There are plenty of those, our favourite feature being an optional surround view camera system that can be programmed with GPS navigation prompts. So if you have a tight driveway entrance, you can set the dashboard display to show images from around the car every time you arrive there. Brilliant. And at speed through the bends, well, this 7 Series model may be 130 kilograms lighter than before thanks to its carbon fibre reinforced construction, but it would still be nearly 2 tons in weight if you loaded it up with options. That being the case, it's admirably nimble when you need it to be, and, as we've said, far more responsive than an S-Class. As usual with this Munich maker, you get rear-wheel drive as standard and a perfectly balanced 50-50 weight distribution. The package helped this time around by the lower centre of gravity achieved by the installation of a lightweight aluminium roof. As a result, only Jaguar's XJ is a more involving driver's tool in this segment, and that's only because BMW has left a trace of vagueness in the steering that even activating sport mode can't quite dial out. There are certainly no issues on the engine front. As before, almost all 7 Series sales will centre around the 730D 3-litre straight 6-cylinder diesel variant that we're trying here, a unit now developing 265 brake horsepower, 7 brake horsepower more than before. Torque is now a lusty 620 newton meters, which translates into predictably formidable pulling power. 62 miles an hour, 6.1 seconds away from rest, en route to an artificially limited top speed of 155 miles an hour. If you want more, there's a 320 brake horsepower 740D diesel derivative that lops nearly a second off that rest to 62 miles an hour sprint time and ups torque to 680 newton meters, enough to make mandatory on this variant the fitment of the xDrive all-wheel drive system that's optional for 730D customers. The only other mainstream 7 Series model to be offered with the xDrive system is a rather clever one, the 740e plug-in hybrid version. It's rear-driven in short wheelbase form and all-wheel driven in long wheelbase guise, with either way power shared between a 2-litre twin-power turbo petrol engine and an electric drive unit integrated into the Steptronic auto gearbox. The total system output of 326 brake horsepower is a little way off the 442 brake horsepower offered by the much pricier S500e plug-in S-Class, but with a 0 to 62 miles per hour time of 5.6 seconds en route to 149 miles an hour, the BMW is virtually as quick as the Merc at the same time as being significantly more efficient. 740e owners get an eDrive button on the centre console, allowing them to adjust the hybrid drive system's operating mode, and if they click this into its auto setting, they'll be able to run at speeds of up to 75 miles an hour, or when driving more sedately, enjoy an all-electric operating range that should be at least 23 miles, assuming that the batteries are fully charged. For those less interested in saving the planet, there's a more familiar range of conventional petrol engines that almost nobody in this country will choose. 6, 8 and even 12 cylinders in size. At launch, BMW offered long wheelbase buyers a 3-litre 6-cylinder 740iL model with 326 brake horsepower, this variant capable of 62 miles an hour in 5.6 seconds. Alternatively, you could go almost the whole hog and get yourself the short wheelbase 4.4-litre twin-turbo 750i V8 variant that produces 443 brake horsepower and improves that sprint figure to just 4.7 seconds. Whatever your choice of 7 Series engine, we'd recommend you consider finding the small amount extra your dealer will want for the sport version of the auto gearbox. This is standard on the top M Sport trim level we're trying here and includes steering wheel mounted paddle shifters and a launch control system to get you off the line Alonso style, or out of harm's way should your executive cavalcade be ambushed by kidnappers. Delete as appropriate. This, we're told by BMW, is a thoroughly modern interpretation of luxury. Make of that what you will. Ultimately, for some, it'll come down to whether this 6th generation 7 Series model really has the road presence of a rival Mercedes S-Class. Now, many may think not, but we can see other boardroom buyers appreciating the styling's conservative values. Top directors don't always want to advertise their automotive status, although those that do can experience much of this car's same technology in the kind of BMW-developed modern Rolls Royce product that shares so much with this car. As with rival models and most previous 7 Series designs, there's a choice of 2 body styles, the short wheelbase model and a long wheelbase derivative lengthened by 14 centimetres for extra rear passenger space. Even this standard version, though, represents a pretty substantial hulk of German real estate. It's 19mm longer than the previous model with a 5.1 metre total length that makes it the largest series-produced car that this Munich maker has ever built. You'd know the brand, though, without the badges, both variants displaying familiar BMW proportions, characterised by a long bonnet, short front overhangs and a set-back passenger compartment. Let's get up close and personal here at the front, where the prominent active airstream kidney grid is flanked by the light graphics of BMW's familiar twin circular headlamps, optionally available in piercing laser light guise, in which form their high beam range is doubled. Further down, this lower air intake stretches right across the front end. The chrome bars at its outer edges and the horizontal contours of the LED fog lamps aiming to emphasise the car's broad set stance. View the car in profile and you find it defined by outward curving surfaces and this double swage line. The wraparound window frame, a single piece element for the first time, takes care to emphasise BMW's characteristic Hofmeister kink in the rear C-pillar below a smoothly downward sloping roofline that aims to try and add a hint of sportiness. Other nice design touches include mirrors that appear to flow organically from the window frame and this air breather surround in the front side panel that blends into a strip running along the lower edges of the doors. At the rear, twin quadrilateral tailpipes suggest the car's performance potential. Meanwhile, the upper section is defined by this chrome bar that flows into the L-shaped LED light clusters, emphasising that at nearly 2 metres in width, this is one of the widest cars in its class. Of course, as usual, what's more important is the stuff that you can't see. In this case, what BMW calls this car's carbon core. This references the way that long fillets of CFRP, carbon fibre reinforced polymer, have been bonded into this model's aluminium and steel structure, allowing the development team to be able to reduce the gauge of metalwork used while still making the whole design more rigid. Now this, along with a lightweight aluminium suspension design, has made a big difference on the scales. This 6th generation 7 Series, an enormous 130 kilograms lighter than its predecessor. Time to move inside, and even before you do, signs of thoughtful, futuristic design are constantly close at hand. Even the key has been given a thorough makeover. This one getting a tiny integrated touchscreen allowing you to see if you've locked the car, check how much fuel remains, and either pre-warm or pre-cool the cabin before you get in. If you pay more for the remote control parking system, and via this fob you can even manoeuvre your 7 Series into a tight space while standing on the pavement. Meanwhile, getting in and out of the car at night can be aided by what BMW calls a welcome light carpet that uses LEDs in the car's side skirts to bathe its perimeter in runway-style approach lighting. Behind the wheel, the design approach seems less understated than it is outside and feels very opulent. There's not a single piece of black plastic to be seen. Every surface instead covered in Napa leather, Alcantara or exquisitely varnished wood. True, there is perhaps more of a similarity to lesser BMW models than some well-heeled owners might want, but otherwise the layout is difficult to fault. It's set off by silver finishing, a stitched leather dashtop covering, and lovely colour selectable ambient lighting strips that illuminate to create a classy feel after dark. Plus there's a smart touchscreen surface for the control panel of the 4-zone automatic air conditioning system. As you'd expect, you're comfortably corseted by electrically adjustable comfort seats, equipped as standard with massaging functionality and perfectly positioning you in front of the 3-spoke wheel. Through it you view what at first glance appears to be a conventional instrument layout, but which on closer inspection turns out to be an interactive virtual display. The main gauge is separated by this small central analogue clock with advanced information graphics showing just below. You won't need to be looking at these dials very much if you've gone for an optional head-up display that's 75% larger than it is on other BMWs, and all the more informative as a result. Anything you can't learn from the readouts ahead of you will be covered off by the vast 10.2-inch display of the professional multimedia and navigation system that dominates the centre of the dash. It deals with the usual DAB stereo, phone, sat-nav and informational functions, plus optional internet access and a whole portfolio of BMW connected drive media services. These include real-time traffic information, a range of downloadable apps, and access to BMW's suite of online services designed to enhance your journey by sending you up-to-date information while you're at the wheel. Things like business and stock market news, weather updates, and an array of mobile office functions. Then there are services such as Google Local Search, plus telephone directories, restaurant and hotel guides. With online services fitted, you can also use the BMW Route Planner to save your chosen route on your home computer before sending it onto your car. As usual, you can operate the whole thing either by voice or by twisting the usual iDrive controller by the gear stick. What's different this time around, though, is that there are two further operational options. The addition of a touchscreen interface on this central iDrive screen for the first time on a BMW is something that perhaps we might have expected, the display now responding to smartphone-style pinches and swipes. Gesture control, though, is something that's genuinely new. This optional system recognises up to 6 gestures via a 3D sensor at the base of the control display. So a twirl of your outstretched finger will vary the volume control, while a jab towards the screen will allow you to answer a call. Now, the idea is that these kinds of gestures can be performed without taking your eyes off the road. In practice, we've found the sensor's response frustratingly patchy unless precisely the right kind of motion is performed, often leaving you in a situation where you're doing, well, nothing more than making what appear to be obscene gestures at other road users. Cabin practicality is another area where a little more development might not go amiss. The glove box is tiny, the door bins are small, and there's nowhere to put your sunglasses. Still, we do like what there is. The covered cubby ahead of the gear stick features dual cup holders and a beautifully damped sliding top. And you get this leather-topped, twin-lidded storage box between the seats, which, by the way, is where you have to charge this display key in this little side compartment. If you don't and it runs out of charge, then there's a danger of being locked out of your car. Time to move rearwards and experience a part of this 7 Series on which the designers have lavished considerable care, which is just as well, since this will be the most important area of the car for many potential buyers. Here, as I mentioned earlier, we've gone for the short wheelbase model, but even so, standards of legroom are still generous, almost exactly matching those of the standard setting Mercedes S-Class. Plus, you'll enjoy around 30mm more headroom than that car can offer before reclining your neck into these lovely Alcantara headrest pillows. Extra embellishment in this particular case is provided by an optional executive package we think many owners will want. This warming the seats and the armrests, adding all-round electric sunblinds, and also including an ambient air package that ionises the cabin air and allows you to choose from up to 8 interior fragrances. Further options include a reclining backrest, retractable footstools and a drinks cooler that can take the place of the middle seat, as can a central rear console featuring cup holders and a fold-out table. If money is no object, you'll also want the lovely Sky Lounge panoramic glass sunroof with its integrated LEDs that replicate a starry sky. And you can add a rear seat infotainment system with a pair of 10.2-inch multimedia screens you'll control via a BMW Touch Command tablet, which is integrated into the central armrest. Onto luggage space, where the 515-litre boot is a fraction larger than that of the S-Class and significantly bigger than that of a rival Jaguar XJ or Audi A8. It's a pity that there's no option to extend it with retractable seatbacks. After all, even 7 Series owners visit IKEA sometimes. All that's offered is this optional through-loading ski hatch. Bear in mind though, if you opt for the 740e PHEV hybrid model, boot space will fall to 420 litres. 7 Series pricing sits mainly in the £65,000 to £80,000 bracket, with the vast majority of customers likely to opt for the entry-level 730D diesel variant that we've been trying. Most models offer the choice of either short or long wheelbase guises. The lengthened version offered at a premium for around £4,000 and likely to account for slightly more sales than the standard body style we have here. The other main 7 Series option is BMW's xDrive 4-wheel drive system, offered at a premium of around £2,700 on this 265 brake horsepower 730D, but provided as standard on its 320 brake horsepower 740D diesel stablemate. You also get the option of xDrive on the most interesting model in the range, the 740e PHEV plug-in petrol-electric hybrid variant. Conventional petrol derivatives are being offered too, a 740i V6 and a 750i V8, but sales of these will be vanishingly small. In terms of BMW's own positioning, this car targets buyers who may conceivably also be looking at the brand's X5 luxury SUV and its 6 Series Grand Coupe four-door coupe model. Both these cars pitched within £10,000 to £15,000 of 7 Series pricing. This design, though, is supposed to represent a new generation of luxury and technology. And as you'll discover if you're fortunate enough to be able to take a test drive, there is nothing quite like it. Nothing in the BMW showroom anyway. Down the road at Mercedes, though, lies this car's nemesis, the Mercedes S-Class, the model that, more than any other, this 7 Series must beat. On paper, you have to say that it stands a very good chance of doing exactly that. This 7's lighter body makes it a faster and much more economic proposition than a rival S-Class, especially in this base 730D form, where it's also around £5,000 cheaper. And that means a 7 Series buyer could, for example, pay the premium of around £3,600 for the ritzier M Sport trim that we have here, add a few well-chosen extras and still easily undercut the price of a rival Mercedes S350D. BMW's hybrid technology stacks up better than that of Mercedes too. The other two main contenders in this segment, Audi's A8 and the Jaguar XJ, have both been refreshed in recent years to also try to offer credible opposition. But the changes haven't disguised the much older technology that you get with these two designs. And that's most notably apparent when you look at the extra weight they must carry around, hence higher running costs that'll quickly eat into the £5,000 to £6,000 saving that a comparable A8 or XJ would give you over the kind of 730D that we're trying here. Otherwise, there aren't too many other options in this segment. The Lexus LS is comparable in terms of size and opulence, but can't offer either a diesel or a reasonably priced hybrid model, so has little chance of credibly competing in this sector. We think a better option to this BMW would be the all-electric Tesla Model S, which in 85 kilowatt form is almost identically priced to a 730D. But with that car, of course, you've the issues of a restricted operating range and uncertain residuals from a brand without a track record in this class. It all means that a full luxury saloon segment buyer could now easily end up concluding, and perhaps for the first time ever, that a 7 Series is indeed the car they should be considering as a reward for a lifetime's endeavour. And if that is the case, then the customer concerned will be wanting to know exactly how generous BMW has been when it comes to standard equipment. Well, let's see. Across the range, all models get 7 Series staple features like the unique BMW display key with its LCD display via which you can get full vehicle status information. And as with the brand's other models, you get a driving performance control system that allows you to set the car up to suit the way you want to drive. Although here, there are more options in the comfort, sport and Eco Pro modes, as well as an extra adaptive setting that basically makes all the choices for you. All of the modes influence throttle response, the change times of the standard 8-speed Steptronic automatic transmission, and the feel of the standard 2-axle air suspension system with its variable damper control. Beyond all of this, you'll find many of the luxury features that would probably now be expected on a car of this price. Things like light alloy multi-spoke wheels of at least 18 inches in size, metallic paint, front and rear park distance control sensors, auto headlamps and wipers, LED technology for the taillights and the front fog lamps, potent-looking quadrilateral tailpipes, and a comfort access system enabling gesture operation of the smart opening powered boot lid. We'd also have expected to find adaptive headlights that turn with the bends as standard. Those cost extra, but the lamps you do get use high-tech LED technology and feature a high beam assistant that automatically dips them at night. Inside, there's fine line wood finishing, plus the comfort seats are now trimmed in much higher quality exclusive Napa leather. They're electrically operated, heated front and rear, and even feature an 8-program massage function. Through the sport leather steering wheel, you view a leather-trimmed binnacle that houses a futuristic 10.25-inch virtual instrument display. And there's also 4-zone climate control, lovely ambient lighting with 6 colour themes, reversing camera, cruise control with a brake function, and enhanced Bluetooth connectivity with wireless charging. The iDrive touchscreen infotainment setup includes BMW's professional multimedia navigation system, plus a DAB tuner that you listen to via the brand's advanced loudspeaker package. You also get USB audio interfaces, voice control, real-time traffic information, Wi-Fi hotspot preparation, and BMW's useful suite of remote services. Annoyingly though, internet connectivity costs extra. Do you want to trade up from this short wheelbase model to the long wheelbase version? Well, do that, and the extra premium required also gets you an electric glass sunroof, BMW's classy pure excellence exterior design package, and a roller sunblind for the rear window to help shelter you from the paparazzi. Here we've opted for the sportier feel of M Sport trim, available with both body styles. This adds M aerodynamic body styling, larger 19-inch bicolour M double-spoke wheels, high-gloss shadowline exterior finishing, and BMW branded black brake calipers. Inside there are illuminated BMW M door sill inlays, plus you get high-gloss metal effect cabin inlays and the normally optional sharper shifting sport version of the automatic gearbox. But of course, all of this will usually only represent a starting point for most likely buyers. Customers in this segment are routinely used to spending 5-figure sums on options, and BMW will happily oblige them in that quest here. If you're going to be driving this car yourself, then we think that a box you really have to tick is that for the Executive Drive Pro system. Now here, a windscreen mounted stereo camera detects uneven surfaces and preconditions the suspension accordingly, while an included dynamic drive setup uses active front and rear anti-roll bars to reduce body roll. If you're interested in the Executive Drive Pro package, then we think you'll probably also want to look at the integral active steering option that offers variable ratio power steering and rear axle steering for a tighter turning circle and greater cornering stability. As for other useful optional driving features, well, there's a redesigned head-up display option to project key driving information onto the windscreen in front of you. And you could look at the BMW Icon adaptive LED headlights I mentioned earlier, although, if funds permit, a better choice lies with BMW's clever piercing laser lights, which almost double the illumination of the standard LED lamps, offering a high beam range of 600 metres, yet they won't dazzle other road users, even on full beam. Manoeuvring a car this big in confined spaces is never easy, so we'd want the surround view camera system, plus maybe also the park assist system that'll identify spaces for you and then steer you into them. Perhaps the ultimate gadget, though, is a remote control parking system that'll actually park the car for you. Just park near your preferred space or awkward garage bay, then stand on the pavement and control the process from your BMW display key. Don't drop it, though. The replacement costs a fortune. Of course, not everyone buying this 7 Series model will be thinking about driving or manoeuvring it themselves. If you're going to be spending at least some of your time in the back, then you'll want the executive package that we've been trying here. This includes a heat comfort feature for warming not only the seats and the steering wheel rim, but also the armrests, front and rear, along with an ambient air package that ionises the cabin air and allows you to choose from up to 8 interior fragrances. That executive package also runs to soft closed doors, rear and rear side window electric sunblinds, and larger 19-inch wheels if your chosen 7 Series model doesn't already have them. Having those blinds fitted allows long wheelbase models to also add what BMW calls an ambient highlight feature. Now here, vertically arranged light sources in the B-pillar beautifully illuminate the rear compartment. It'll all be ideal if you're going to be regularly chauffeured in this car. And if that's the case, You'll also want to be considering the optional rear seat comfort package, a collection of features that, well, will really pamper you. With this, you enjoy massaging rear seat functionality that also includes a so-called vitality program, specially developed to allow passengers to engage in what BMW calls active training on longer journeys. And while they're working out, they can be viewing a pair of 10.2-inch multimedia screens hanging from both seat backs. These connected to a TV tuner, the in-car Wi-Fi hotspot, and an upgraded Harman Kardon stereo. Lots to oversee then, so it's fortunate that integrated into the rear centre armrest there's a removable BMW Touch Command tablet screen that can help you control it all. Top CEOs may want to go further still. Now, if you've had a really hard day in the boardroom and had the foresight to equip your 7 Series with the optional executive lounge seating package, then you'll be able to recline the rear backrest right back to 42.5 degrees, slide the front passenger seat and backrest right forward out of your way, and activate an electrically operated rear fold-out footrest. The package automatically adjusts the rear seat entertainment screens to suit the angle of your seat and includes a rear console with cup holders and a fold-out table. What else? Well, we'd also want to add the lovely Sky Lounge panoramic glass sunroof, a feast of glass and LEDs that replicate a starry sky. Oh, and the welcome light carpet that uses LEDs in the car's side skirts to bathe its perimeter in runway-style approach lighting after dark that'll guide you into the cabin. We'd ideally want the thumping optional 16-speaker Bowers & Wilkins Diamond surround sound system too, with its 10-channel amplifier and 1400-watt output. Well, or at least we would if someone else was paying. There are some options that we think we'd avoid though. The night vision with pedestrian recognition system is great in principle, but it displays in the instrument binnacle and means you have to take your eyes off the road to use it. Nor are we entirely convinced by the optional gesture control feature. This supposedly allows you to operate various infotainment features with merely a twirl of your finger in the air, but we found it fiddly to get to grips with. Other optional features are really down to personal preference. You may want to look at sun protection glass and ventilated seats for front seat passengers, while chauffeur companies might also want to consider extra pampering for those in the rear, things like an independent rear telephone, extended rear air conditioning that adds air vents into the roofliner, individual rear seat reading lights, a travel rug, and a removable 15-litre BMW individual cool box that can sit in the middle of the rear bench. Probably we should also mention a few practicalities. If you're a parent and you don't need the fancy rear seat entertainment system for your kids, then the optional travel and comfort system base carrier may do just as well. Essentially, it's a holder that attaches to the back of the front seat head restraints and onto which you can attach almost any tablet. We'd also want to look at run-flat tyres, the through-loading system ski hatch that you'll need for the transport of longer items, the fitted luggage compartment mat and the leather case that BMW can provide to protect that display key. Plus possibly also the BMW roof system with its rails for carrying roof boxes and attachments for skis, snowboards and cycles. So that only leaves the finishing touch aesthetic options. BMW offers pure excellence design packages that will further upgrade the look and feel of this car, both inside and out. Or you could make your own choice from a whole portfolio of interior wood trim packages with chestnut, poplar, ash grain and American oak finishes all available. You can get wood inlays added into the steering wheel too, plus you can specify a ceramic finish for the controls if you want it. And there's a choice of alloy wheels between 18 and 21 inches in size. Beyond that, the sky is the limit if you specify your 7 Series using options from the BMW individual collection. There's even a super exclusive bespoke BMW individual design composition package that uses sculpted handcrafted merino leather and could cost you nearly 50% of the cost of the original car. On to safety. Now you'll be expecting this car to be state-of-the-art in this regard, as BMW claims it is, pointing out that the stiffer carbon fibre reinforced plastic used in this car's bodywork construction creates a safer passenger cell. Inside it, occupants are protected by front and side airbags, head and curtain airbags for both front and rear seats, and active head restraints that prevent whiplash. There's also a standard dynamic safety system that will automatically pre-tension the seat belts, close the windows and the sunroof, and position the driver's seat in the optimum safety position if an accident situation is imminent. It'll also brake the car after any impact to try and ensure that you don't hit anything else. On top of that, you get ISOFIX child seat fastenings and the usual electronic assistance for traction, stability and braking, including hill start assist, brake drying and brake fade compensation. That's all well and good, but if we're honest, we expected a bit more. A whole suite of intelligent safety features are available, but on most models, these cost extra. Take autonomous braking, the kind of setup that scans the road ahead as you drive for potential accident hazards and can help you slow the car to avoid or prevent an accident. That's the kind of thing you'd find on some super minis these days, but it's only optional on this 730D variant, and that's the one that the majority of owners will be buying. The city collision mitigation and forward collision warning features in question are supplied as part of an extra cost driving assistant pack that only comes as standard if you avoid the least expensive petrol and diesel versions of this car. The pack also includes a laudable preventative pedestrian protection feature, and this will warn you if someone's about to step off the pavement in front of you. And also 2 other electronic safety features that we'd expect would have been fitted without question across the range, namely lane departure warning, and that's a system that warns dozy drivers who are veering out of their lanes on the highway, and a speed limit information setup that pictures speed signs as you pass them and displays them for you on the dash. If you want to go further, a pricier Driving Assistant Plus pack gives you a portfolio of additional features. Highway travel can be aided by a lane keeping assistant with active side collision protection and a steering and lane control assistant. Here, the car doesn't just warn you if you're drifting out of a lane, but can actively do something about the problem, subtly but firmly steering you back to where you should be on the road. The package includes a traffic jam assist feature that steers and moves the car automatically for you at up to 24 miles per hour in traffic. And there's also a cross-traffic warning feature that alerts you to oncoming motorists if you're reversing out of a space. Finally, the Driving Assistant Plus pack also includes an active cruise control with stop and go function that on the highway can automatically slow the car to a stop should you come across a motorway tailback, and then when appropriate return it to cruising speed as soon as it's safe to do so. Even CEOs are concerned about running costs these days. So it's a major feather in this BMW's cap that it's now easily the most affordable car of its kind to run, despite residual values that are still just behind those of Mercedes. The key reason for this car's running cost efficiency lies with its relatively light weight. This achieved thanks to the so-called efficient lightweight technologies that BMW developed during creation of its electric iCar models. Like those cars, this one is created using an innovative carbon core construction process with carbon fibre reinforced plastic injection. And this, along with extensive use of aluminium, has allowed BMW to shave 130 kilograms of weight from the previous generation model. As a result, this 730D model is 125 kilograms lighter than its arch rival Mercedes S350D, a reduction comparable to the weight saving you'd probably make if you asked 2 adult passengers to get out and walk. It's all very impressive, as are the stats. This 265 brake horsepower diesel 730D variant manages 60.1 miles per gallon on the combined cycle, which is the same as a 1.2 litre Fiat 500 city car. And 124 grams per kilometre of CO2, which is the same as a 1.4 litre Vauxhall Astra. Yes, really. And these figures better the old 5th generation 730D model by a staggering 12.4 miles per gallon and 29 grams per kilometre. It's a real mark of progress. If you want some real-world competitive perspective on this current car's figures, then I'll tell you the rival Mercedes S350D manages just 47.9 miles per gallon and 154 grams per kilometre. The latter figure meaning that the Merc will cost you significantly more to tax. Comparable versions of the Jaguar XJ and the Audi A8 don't do much better either. The 730D's figures fall only fractionally if you choose the weightier, long wheelbase body style, but opting for the xDrive four-wheel drive system inevitably has more of an effect, such a variant returning 58.9 miles per gallon and 127 grams per kilometre of CO2. With the pokier 320 brake horsepower 740D diesel, you have to have xDrive, and here the figures are 55.4 miles per gallon and 134 grams per kilometre. That makes this variant a much more competitive proposition than Mercedes' almost identically priced S400h petrol-electric hybrid model, which is about 15% thirstier and dirtier. Talking of hybrids, this BMW stacks up well with this technology too. At the time of this 6th generation 7 Series model's launch, only Mercedes offered any kind of hybrid technology in this segment, with the plug-in hybrid technology that an increasing number of buyers now want, only available in their £90,000 442 brake horsepower S500e model. BMW, in contrast, offers a much more accessible, affordable and economic 326 brake horsepower plug-in petrol-electric hybrid derivative, the 740e PHEV. The short wheelbase rear-driven version manages a faintly astounding set of stats: 134.4 miles per gallon on the combined cycle, 49 grams per kilometre of CO2 and around 25 miles of all-electric driving from a single charge. Again, I'll put that showing in comparable perspective. A pricier Mercedes S500e plug-in hybrid delivers 100.9 miles per gallon, 65 grams per kilometre of CO2 and around 18 miles of all-electric driving from a single charge. Again, BMW has stretched the boundaries of what's possible from a car of this kind. Not everyone in the market for this kind of car cares about the running cost bottom line, of course, and for those who don't and cover low mileages, conventionally petrol-driven 7 Series models may be preferable. The 6-cylinder 3-litre 740Li manages 41.5 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 159 grams per kilometre of CO2, which you might not think is very good, until taking note of the fact that a comparably performing Lexus LS460 delivers 26.2 miles per gallon and 249 grams per kilometre. Even the 8-cylinder 4.4-litre petrol-powered 750i model can do better than that, delivering 35.3 miles per gallon and 186 grams per kilometre of CO2, which is about 10% better than a rival Mercedes S500. Of course, this car's running cost advantage over its rivals hasn't only been achieved through weight saving. Like every other BMW model, this one benefits from the brand's efficient dynamics package, the elements of which are these days copied by, well, just about every other manufacturer in this segment. Even so, the way that the Munich maker has put them all together here really seems to have hit the efficiency sweet spot. We're talking in this case of things like on-demand use of ancillary units, electric power steering, low rolling resistance tyres, brake energy regeneration and an auto start-stop system to cut the engine when you don't need it, stuck in traffic or waiting at the lights. Sleek aerodynamics also help, aided by neat design touches like the air breather in the front side panel that directs the airstream over the front wheels. Plus there are clever air flaps behind the active airstream BMW kidney grille that optimise the aerodynamic airflow into the engine. Of course, the driver must also play his or her part, and in this they'll be helped by the Eco-Pro mode that you can select in the driving performance control system, and that's there to focus all the car's systems on ultimate frugality. This setting activates a coasting function at cruising speeds that disconnects the engine until you need it. And also in this mode you've a range of individually programmable functions that include efficiency orientated operation of comfort features, tips for more frugal motoring, and what BMW calls a route ahead assistant, which gives recommendations for an efficient driving style based on the navigation data. What else? Well, as usual with BMW, there's a condition-based service indicator on the dash to advise you when your car needs a garage visit. But new to me was the clever teleservices feature that comes as part of the BMW connected drive services that you can access through the iDrive infotainment system. Via this, before each service appointment is due, your 7 Series can put in a teleservices call to your nominated BMW service centre, and that will be complete with detailed information on vehicle condition. You will then get a call to arrange a service appointment, and that's something that you'll already have budgeted for if, at the point of original purchase, you opted for one of the 2 fixed cost packages that cover you for 5 years or 50,000 miles. Service Inclusive takes care of all servicing in this period, while the Service Inclusive Plus package deals with servicing and with maintenance. Onto the warranty. Now, BMW offers cover that lasts for 3 years, no matter how many miles you complete. With a rival Audi A8, it's worth pointing out, you'd be limited to 60,000 miles in this period. As for insurance groups, well, to give you an idea, you're looking at Group 46 for the 730D and either Group 44 or 45 if you go for the petrol-powered 740Li. If you want a car that showcases the current state of the automotive art, then this 7 Series is as good a place to start as any. Whether you prioritise clever gadgetry, high-tech engineering or sharp running costs in your luxury saloon, this BMW operates from an agenda that will certainly impress. Conservatively styled it may be, conservative in outlook it certainly isn't. But then it couldn't afford to be in the face of a rival as good as the Mercedes S-Class, the car that over 4 decades this car has tried and previously failed to match. This time though, BMW would have Mercedes worried. This 7 Series may not quite boast the street-side presence of an S-Class, but it feels just as special inside where it really matters. Plus, thanks to the lightness of carbon core technology, it's considerably cheaper to run, even if you don't choose the class-leadingly efficient plug-in hybrid version. On top of that, there's a dazzling range of options, many of them unmatched by the competition, with most items ready to filter down into smaller BMWs in the near future, or up into the pricier Rolls Royce models that the company is developing from this car's sophisticated platform. In summary, though it's still not the obvious choice in the full-size luxury segment, the 7 Series has now become an important contender for boardroom buyers to consider. Certainly, in 6th generation form, it's a different proposition when it comes to quality and technology, good to drive, and even better to be driven in. To ignore it would be to miss out on quite a treat and quite a car.